Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is 12 o'clock on a Sunday, which means it's time for a Q&A. Now, this is where I take all the questions that you've asked over the course of the week, and I try to answer them to the best of my ability. So a couple of things. First of all, if you've never seen a Q&A before, I'm very... I don't do any research into these questions. I look at them and I give you my immediate answer. Now, if there's a question that I think could provide a more meaty video, I'll then do that video at a later date. But you're getting kind of my raw, unfiltered opinions. Secondly, there is nothing off the table in these Q&As. You can ask me anything that you want to, and I will answer it. Absolutely not a problem. And finally, please don't forget that you want to try and get your questions in fairly early. I normally film the Q&A on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. It's currently midday on a Tuesday. That's when I'm filming it this week. So if you ask a question and it's not been answered, sometimes I miss it, but a lot of the time it's because it's been asked after I've filmed the Q&A. In that case, ask it again a little bit earlier, and I promise I'll get to it next week. With that being said, there are a ton of questions on last week's Q&A, so there's a lot to go through. So let's get straight into it with this week's Q&A. Okay, so the first question is from the Card Trick Academy. How you doing, guys? This channel is awesome. Thank you. I have a question. I love 3D advertising by Henry Evans, but sometimes I'm completely surrounded. Is there a way to still do it while surrounded? Great question. Now, if you don't know what 3D advertising is, 3D advertising is an amazing opener to a card set. Basically, you open up what looks like a catalogue of playing cards, and there's a whole bunch of different playing cards. You've got a blue deck at the bottom, and then you just shake pictures of different decks, right? Different boxes, you just shake, and the deck becomes real, and you're left with a blank space, and you can take cards out, you can go into a card set, the pamphlet thing can be examined. It's great. It is slightly angly, now just from behind. So here's a couple of tips for you. You can't do it surrounded really, but whenever you're in a situation where you want to do something and there's a bad angle from behind, there's a couple of things that you can do. So first is to take a step back, and that's kind of just about audience management. If you've got people absolutely everywhere, you can kind of just say to them, guys, I want to show you something amazing right now. I want everyone to see. If you're behind there, you're not going to really be able to see much. You come over here, you come over here. Excellent. Can you all see now? Brilliant. Let's go into it. And then you take out 3D advertising. Now, that's a great way to deal with anything when you've got bad angles. And that's just really audience management. A lot of people obsess or worry about, oh, what do I do? This is not angle proof. This isn't angle proof. And yet, absolutely, in some situations, you can't do that. But in the majority of situations, you can, with a bit of audience management, get everyone in front of you or around in a sort of a 180-degree angle. And that solves most angle issues, especially with 3D advertising. You don't want to pitch it as, hey, come to the front because I don't want you to see the secret move from the back. But I kind of pitch it as, guys, you're not going to be able to see much over there. Do you want to come around the front? And that's one way of doing it. Taking a step back tends to work as well. Taking a step back so you can put a bit of space between you and the audience. That's great, especially when you've got big groups of people. And then finally, another thing that you can do is bring it into your chest. Bring it really cozy into your chest. So in other words, if you're doing 3D advertising and you're holding it out here, sort of at arm's length or even partially out, people that are looking over might be able to see what's going on, right? But if you hold it here and you display it here, you obviously know 3D advertising, so you know what I'm doing here. And then you turn it this way and you do the move, they're not going to be able to see through your body. So it suddenly becomes a lot better because they can't see through your body. So it becomes much better. I don't know how else to describe it. It becomes much better. So that's what I would do, because if you're holding it really close to your chest, they're not going to be able to see much without going and leaning over your shoulder, and that just would look weird. So there's a couple of tips in general of how to deal with angles when you're in a surrounded situation. Obviously, the other thing is to remember that certain tricks are better in certain situations. There's certain tricks that I do when I'm not surrounded. There's other tricks I do when I am surrounded. Think about your set list, think about the things that you're performing, and make sure you're picking the right material for the right environment. Okay, so the next question is Axe Hachini. How you doing, Axe? Hope you're okay. And Axe says, hi Craig, which Ungimmick Cube do you recommend to do magic with? I've bought the RD standard cube and it does not cut corners very easily. Thanks for all your hard work. I tend to use when I'm doing magic one of two cubes, either Henry's RD cubes. You're right, as a speed cube, it's not going to be the greatest speed cube in the world, but I'm not a speed cuber. I'm not interested in speed cubing. I'm interested in doing magic with the cubes. And as a magic cube, as a cube to do magic, it's great. So I do very much like the Henry Harriers RD regular cubes. They're great, and they match all my gimmicks as well, which is good. The other thing that I like is what's the other thing that I like? I've completely forgotten. The other thing that I like is the cubes that are sold by Kev G and Colin Klaus, the Rubik's Cube guys. They put together Rubicon. I mean, they're absolutely incredible. And they sell at dealer stands, and I think they sell on the website as well, an incredible speed cube. And it's one of Ryland's favourite cubes to do magic with. I think he's got about 10 of them or something. That cube is really, really good. And as far as I'm aware, the only place you can get it from is Kev G and Colin Klaus. So you might want to go check out their stuff. And also, if you're not a member of their website with all of their amazing routines on there, you should be, because their stuff is brilliant. I asked Ryland speed cubes as well, obviously, and he does speed cubing, and he has cubes specifically for speed cubing, and he has cubes specifically for magic. And I think that's the clear distinction. You're talking in here about, hey, they don't cut corners very easily. That's not really a major issue for magic. So understand that you're not speed cubing, you're doing magic. So he has cubes that he uses for magic, he has cubes he uses for speed cubing, and again, he's the same as me in that he uses an RD regular cube and he uses the Kev G Colin Klaus cubes for magic. But I asked him what his favourite cubes were for speed cubing, because I don't do speed cubing, and he gave me a list of 3. The Moyu RS3M 2021 3x3 magnetic speed cube with maglev technology, the Mofang Jiaoshi RS3M 2020 3x3 magnetic speed cube, and then finally the Yongjun Yulong V2M 3x3x3 magnetic speed cube. Those are the 3 that he said are the best. So take that for what it's worth. I don't speed cube, I don't know. I can solve a cube in about 50 seconds, and that's all I need to do. But for me, as I say, I'd go with Henry or Colin and Kev's cubes. They are the best for magic. Okay, so the next question is from David Fishbeck, and David says, what would your top 4 Lego themed tricks be for kid shows? Top 4 Lego themed tricks for kid shows, right? Okay, so if you've seen the new Lego frame by G Magic, I know it's not out yet, it's on pre-order. Ryland's had one of those for a while. That is incredible. He uses that in his show all the time. We will be reviewing it soon, I imagine, but that's a really nice prop. He uses it to make a visual appearance of Harry Potter. That's a great trick. I don't want to spend too much time talking about it. It's on pre-order at the moment. It's not cheap, but it is really good. You can literally have he uses it with a question mark on. So he has a Lego board, a yellow Lego board with a question mark that is made in Lego. He covers it up with a cloth, and when he takes it away, it's changed from a question mark into a forced character, and he forces Harry Potter. And then you can take it off and show it them and see that it really is Harry Potter. It's beautiful, really. It's very, very, very well done. Great trick. So I'd say that one. Gustavo Raleigh has some amazing Lego tricks. There's 2 in particular that I like. One's called Let's Go, I think it's called. I'm pretty sure it is. One's called Let's Go, and it's basically, we reviewed it on the review show, so you can go check it out. But basically, it's got a picture of a Lego character. It's actually the one from the Lego movie, and he's standing there, and you show him both sides, and then you get the kids to pick a superhero, a Lego superhero. So they pick the Lego superhero, and then you flick it, and in like a burst of confetti, it changed into the Lego superhero that they created. That's really good. He's also got another one as well. Let me see if I can find this online. I was looking at it earlier for a different video, for something else actually. Go Out, that's it, Go Out. Incredible effect for kid shows using Lego characters. Yeah, it's really good. So basically, it's again, it's like a sucker effect, where you pick a Lego character and it's a sucker effect, but you actually get to give away a poster to them as well, which is really nice, really, really good. And the only other thing that I would say, because you wanted 4, those 3 are really good. Okay, so Figment by by Tom Mullinger, Jester Styles is great. That came out through Saturn Magic. That's not that's really a small thing though. It's more of a close-up trick, but kids love it. But it wouldn't be for a kid's show. If you want one more thing for kid shows, and I'm not going to actually, I can't say too much about this, but I'm telling you right now, John Morton at Blackpool is going to be releasing what I could maybe think of as the Trick of Blackpool. Now, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be really, really good. And it's all themed to Lego, and it's genius. I've been lucky enough to be involved in helping John with a couple of the routines on there, and they are really good, like really good. I can't tell you much more about it, but I think this will be the best Lego themed trick of all time. And it definitely has a lot of scope, both in terms of kid shows, close-up, stage, mentalism, magic, the list goes on and on and on. I can't say anything else, but John Morton will have a booth at Blackpool, and he's going to have this trick there, and I think there's a good chance it might come close to being trick of the convention. And that is fully Lego themed. I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to say anything else, but you want to check that out. Okay, so the next question is from Sticky, and Sticky says, incredible video as always, thank you, but my question is, will you make a Hows and Whys of Lux? In all honesty, I've never thought about doing a Hows and Whys of Lux. I mean, I use it in a few different ways, and I think there's a lot more potential with it. But I mean, the project came with a bunch of different routines that are really, really good. And so I've never really considered doing a Hows and Whys of Lux. If enough people want me to do one, though, I'm more than happy to do it. Just let me know. Let me know in the comments. Would you like to see a Hows and Whys of Lux? I'm currently working on the Hows and Whys of the thumb tip. But after I've finished the thumb tip one, if you want Lux, let me know and I can do that for you. And if you want a Hows and Whys of anything else, again, let me know in the comments down below. Okay, so we've got another question from Sticky, and the second question is, should you start performing by busking or something else? And also, how did Ryland get started? Okay, so busking is hard. It's not easy. It's very, very difficult. Yes, it's going to make you an incredible performer. It will make you an incredible performer, but you're going to die in your arse several times before getting good at it. And you're going to be going out all day and making almost next to no money. And I think you need help and guidance. You need to go and study with somebody who does busking, because there's lots of things that you need to learn that you wouldn't be taught performing in any other environment. I personally think, and you've got to remember, I've never been a busker. It's the one thing that I've never done. So this is based on knowing buskers and speaking to them and knowing how they went into it. But I would personally want to get good at performing before I actually went into busking. You're talking here, hey, should you start performing by busking or something else? I think that busking is dumping into the deep end big time. Could you do it? Absolutely. But everybody I've ever seen that gets into busking, they've been a good performer beforehand, and they've even struggled being a good performer because it's such a different skill set. I think you need to have strong presentational skills. I think you need to be able to vocally project. I think you need to be very quick-witted. I think that there's certain skills that you need to have that you can't learn on the job, because if you do, you just won't be able to build up a crowd, or you'll do it wrong. So I think that maybe busking is something that you go into when you've got kind of more experience as a performer. How do you get started? Just flight time. Perform everywhere and anywhere. Ask yourself a question. Do you want to perform on stage, or do you want to perform close-up? If you want to perform close-up, then perform everywhere. Perform to your friends, perform to your family, perform to your work colleagues, perform at school, depending on how old you are. Go out on the streets and just walk around and show people magic tricks. Go to restaurants or retirement villages and say, hey, I'd like to come along and perform for free. You know, I just want to get some flight time. There's no experience for flight time. You know, people are obsessed in this industry that the second they go out and do a gig, they need to charge full price. That's not necessarily the case. You might not be at the level where you can charge full price. I think, first of all, you need to get experience performing, and then you'll get better and better and better. And I think that's really important. In terms of how Ryland got started, I mean, he was doing magic since the age of 2. His first show was at nursery. He did his own nursery graduation. That was at 4, I think it was. So at 4, he did a 30-minute kids show. That was his first performance. Ryland performs mainly on stage, and that's a decision he wanted. He wants to be a stage performer. He wants to perform on stage. So he has a residency that he does once a week where he does close-up magic, and he does close-up gigs, but really his heart and soul is in stage magic. He spends most of his time practicing new stage routines and coming up with new stage routines, and it can be a little bit harder to get experience as a stage magician or a kids magician. He also loves kids magic, but again, it came down to flight time. Every opportunity he gets to perform, he takes. You know, he performs regularly at the House of Secrets. He performs regularly at events, you know, in various different venues around our local area where he's kind of a little mini celebrity. He takes every opportunity to perform on stage. Tonight, after school, he's performing at an 80th birthday party. Because the thing with Ryland is he's quite lucky in that he doesn't need to worry too much about money, and he just loves performing, so he wants to just focus on performing. And you can see that. Anybody who's watched his videos and watched his recent performances, he's way better than he was in BGT. Like, I thought he did a great job on BGT. But since BGT, in the last sort of 8 months, he's become better because he's just been performing absolutely everywhere. And I think part of the thing is just putting yourself out there, getting yourself flight time, because that's the only way you're going to get better. You're only going to get better by going out there and getting flight time. You know, people that say, oh, I've got nowhere to go and perform, I've got no... Yes, you have. You just need to go out and do it. But in terms of where I would start if I were you, ask yourself a question. Do you want to be a close-up magician? Do you want to be a stage magician? Do you want to be an illusionist? Do you want to be a kids entertainer? Do you want to be all of them? And if you want to be all of them, what do you want to be first? And then just get flight time doing that thing. Okay, so the next question is from the Gaffe Man Project, and the Gaffe Man Project says, I'm going to put this on flight mode so that nobody can hear. There you go. What is a good opener for your chop routine? Well, that's a great question. Realistically, you're thinking about transitioning from one routine to another. So if you're talking about chop, there's a couple of different things that you could do. So whenever you think about transitioning into a particular trick, right, the first thing that you need to think of is what are the props that you're going to use into the routine that you want to transition into. In this case, it's a paper cup, it's a Sharpie marker, and it's a borrowed bill. So you could start maybe by doing a routine with a bill. You know, do a $100 bill switch, do a routine with a $100 bill switch or something like that. There's a ton of routines that you can do with a $100 bill switch that are absolutely amazing. I love the $100 bill switch and I love using it. And there's so many different creative ways that you can use it. So the first thing that I would say is maybe do something with the bill, borrow a bill. And do something with the bill, and you know, a great routine to do is Richard Sanders' bill to marker pen, which uses a borrowed marker pen or a regular Ungimmick marker pen and a borrowed bill. So you can take the bill, you can vanish it, you can get them to sign it, you can vanish it, and then you can have it appear in the Sharpie that you get with Chop. You could use that same Sharpie. And you could say, well, I tell you what, I'll do it again. But this time we won't make it go into the Sharpie, we'll do something else. And now you've got the Sharpie in play because you've just done a bill to Sharpie marker. So now you've got the Sharpie in place, so you can go straight into the Chop routine. Another thing that you could do is you could use the cup. So if you didn't want to transition using a bill, you could transition using the cup. So you could have a cup in play for whatever routine you want to use it for. You know, maybe a coin routine where the coins appear underneath the cup. Maybe a split coin routine, because obviously split coin routines work really well with cups. Something else, you know, maybe I'd say maybe it's a card under cup or something. I don't know, but you've got this cup in play. So borrow a cup, do something with the cup, and then after you've done something with the cup, then you can say, well, actually, let's see if we can take it one step further. Can I borrow a bill, please? You could even do a lemon production. So, for example, Super Lemon would be a great option. So I reviewed Super Lemon recently on a review show special. It's a new trick by Henry Harrius. Actually, that wouldn't work because the lemon turns into a piece of paper. But you could do something with a lemon, do a production of a lemon. Do one of those things where your lemon appears out your shoe or something, you know, like Earth Shoes by Paul Harris. Do something like a lemon production and then put the lemon away so that when the lemon appears underneath the cup at the end of the routine, you've gone full circle into it and you go, hey, it's the lemon from earlier on. When I first brought out Chop about 15 years ago, and I still do this now, I did a routine called, what did I call it? Recapped or something, I can't remember, which is a multi-phase pen manipulation routine using a Sharpie marker with pens going behind the ear and up the sleeve and all sorts of stuff. That's a great lead-in because you're doing a trick with a pen, and then you go, well, actually, can I borrow a bill? Can you take this pen and sign it for me? And that's one of the big things about Chop. You can use the same pen to sign the bill or whatever you want to do. So do some pen manipulation is also a really good thing that you can do with it. On the Netrix, I have a routine called, what's it called? Security pen. Which is a 3-phase routine where coins appear, vanish, change places, they go into a pen, there's a transposition element, there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens with this pen and these 3 coins. So you could do that and have that, and at the end, put the 3 coins away, and then you've got the pen, and you say, well, we've used my money, let's use your money. If you got like a bill I can borrow, and you go into it. Now, if you're not using a bill, you could do anything. So, for example, if you're using a Post-it note, I know a lot of people use Post-it notes, you could have the Post-it note pad, and you could be doing maybe a transposition routine. So I've put a routine called Sticky on the Netrix, which is a transposition routine with Post-it notes. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you could do using Post-it notes and writing on them with the pen. And then you could say, well, actually, can you sign one of these notes for me? I'm going to do something with that. And then you go again into Chop. So it's just about thinking about the props that you have at hand and what you could do with them before you're going into that routine. So hopefully that helps and answers your question. Okay, so the next question is Ryan Maybe, and Ryan says, hey Craig, thanks for all the amazing tips and tricks you offer. My question for next week has to do with the Mirage coin set. I recently bought a set and and I absolutely love it, especially the in-depth tutorials, thank you. I am, however, having an issue with the Gaffe coin. It sometimes doesn't close all the way or close properly. Instead, it gets stuck open the tiniest amount, making it look like there's another coin hiding inside or under the one that the audience is supposed to see. I'm trying to be vague here, but also get my point across. I wasn't sure if I should try taking the coin apart and putting it back together or if that would make it worse. I really like the routines, but at the moment this happens every 3rd time I try to make the tricks work. Thank you for everything. Right, okay. So that shouldn't happen. There might be an easy fix. Have you watched the part of the tutorial where Roy Coopers is there and he's talking about, care and handling of the coin? If you have, just doing what he says in that video might fix the problem. If it doesn't, you shouldn't be in a situation where every 3rd try it's not working. I would contact Alakazam and just say that Craig asked you to drop them an email, explain the situation, send them an email with a photo of what's happening with the coin, and then they'll get back to you. If they haven't got back to you, say within 2 or 3 days, give me a call and I'll chase them up personally, or drop me an email at craig@magictv.org and I'll chase them up personally for you. Okay, but they should reply. But try the Roy Coopers thing first, and then contact Alakazam. But thank you for the kind words. The next question is from Divi Ryu, and Divi says, what are your opinions on David Regal's cups and balls? I love David Regal's cups and balls routine. It's one of my favorite cups and balls routines that I've ever seen. Now, if you don't know what David Regal's cups and balls routine is, I suggest you go and watch it. He's got this incredible routine. I don't want to say too much about it, but it uses, no, in fact, you know what? I'm not even going to say anything about it. I encourage you to go and check it out yourself. You can go see it on, he's got it in his books, he's got it on various different videos. You can probably find it on YouTube. Go and check out David Regal's cups and balls routine. It's amazing. It is actually one of my favorite cups and ball routines out there. Okay, so the next question is from Jay Lebowitz, and Jay says, great Q&A, thank you, man. Question for next week, do you have any guidance or guidelines regarding the when you use difficult sleights in Magic? Do you lean towards performing Magic that more sleight heavy or sleight light? Do you have any limits regarding this, or do you just choose Magic to perform depending on the effect? There are magicians such as Ricky Jay, Michael Vincent and Eric Tate who use a staggering amount of sleight of hand smoothly and naturally in performance, whereas others prefer to be sleight light. The magic industry seems to be leaning a lot on gimmicks that do the work for you, or magic that relies more process than practice. As an amateur, I enjoy practicing difficult sleights, but tend to perform for magic and friends and family that only use simple sleights or sleight of mind, i.e. memdeck stuff, clever thinking. I enjoy gimmicks. Even a double backing can take a single card trick to a new level, but as a rank amateur, I'm generally not loaded up with them and perform and use a borrowed deck. And I'm usually way too nervous to do effects that require major sleight of hand in front of an audience. Right, great question, man. Really great question. The answer is, when I'm performing professionally, I like to take the simplest approach in order to get to the end result as quickly and effortlessly as possible. Now, The reason for that is because I like to focus on presentation, because I would rather have people walk away going, that's entertaining, that's magical. Now, if I can get both, brilliant. But there are people out there that don't like magic. And a lot of the time they'll turn around to me and say, oh, I didn't think I liked magic, but I like you. And the reason is I try to make it inclusive to everybody. Now, the thing that you need to understand is when I say I make it simple, simple does not necessarily mean easy. Simple means simple. So, for example, if I'm going to control a card to the top of the deck, the simplest way of doing it is to do a top change or to do a pass. That's the simplest way to do it. It's not necessarily the easiest way, but it is absolutely the simplest way to do that. Whilst other times there might be something that I want to do and the simplest way. Well, so for example, with a coins across routine, if I want to have a super visual moment in a coins across routine, the simplest way to use it, to do it, is to use a gaffe, like a shell or a flipper or a split coin. Because here's the thing. I hear all the time people going, oh, I'm a purist. I only perform sleight of hand because I want to be pure. And my attitude to that is very, very simple. That's a dumbass thing to say. And the reason is your audience doesn't know. It's not like your audience is going to watch a performance and go, well, that was really good, but I think that it would have been much better if the quota of sleights to gimmicks was raised at least 50%. Nobody's going to say that. You know, they don't know what you're going to do. So for me, my attitude is I owe it to my audiences, whoever the audience is, I owe it to my audience to do the best possible performance that I can do. Now, if the best possible performance I can do uses pure sleight of hand, like a card in the box routine, so be it. There is not a gimmick in existence that can get a card or a deck under or into a box as smoothly as I can do it with sleight of hand. So therefore, I'm going to use sleight of hand. If, however, the best method to achieve something is with a gimmick, for example, coins across with a shell or with a flipper, then that's what I'm going to do. Now, that's not to say there's not situations where I'll do a pure coins across routine, because there is. But I tend to keep it as simple as possible. Simple does not necessarily mean easy. I love complicated sleight of hand. I love learning new moves. I love learning new sequences and knuckle busting things. I love doing that. I really do. But also I get a kick out of learning new gimmicks and finding out about new gimmicks and exploring them and seeing all of the things that I can do with them. You see a lot of the routines that I bring out as products, they're not difficult. Think about the quantum deck. It's not really that difficult. Think of trivia, it's not really that difficult. Think of gossip, it's not really that difficult. Think of Beyond Stebbins, it's almost self-working. Playlist, almost self-working. The list goes on and on and on. Then there's routines that I bring out that require a little bit of sleight of hand, like Keymaster and like Chop. And then there's routines that I bring out that might be potentially even more difficult, like the Mirage coin set, for example. I don't base whether I'm going to do a routine or not based on its difficulty level. I pick the routines that are best for the environment in which I'm performing. We mentioned this earlier on in the Q&A, but there's certain routines that work in certain environments that don't work in other environments. And it's your job as the performer to first of all figure out the type of tricks that you like to do and figure out the routines that you're best performing at, and then which routines work better in which situations. Don't try and shoehorn a square peg into a round hole. It's not going to fit. Just because you love a routine, it might not be necessarily the best routine to do for a particular environment. So, you know, pick the best environment, pick the best trick to do for the best environment, and if that uses sleight of hand, brilliant. As long as you're comfortable doing that sleight of hand, that's not a problem. And if you're not comfortable with it because you said you're too nervous doing effects that require major sleight of hand, either say to yourself, well, that's not a problem. I learned the sleight of hand for me, or you kind of say to yourself, well, okay, I'm gonna get over this. In 2023, I'm gonna get over this, and I'm gonna start doing more routines that require sleight of hand, and I'm gonna do them in front of real people. But in terms of picking what I do, it very much just depends on the people, the routine, and what I'm going for. Okay, so the next question is from Vinavist, and Vinavist says, hi Craig, my name's Jack and I'm a 13-year-old magician. I'm looking into getting into a restaurant residency at a local hotel or restaurant and putting together some tricks to perform every time I am there. My list currently comprises of Supreme Nesta Wallets, Timeless, your card in the box routine, as well as a variety of phone and card tricks. Do you have any other tricks that I would recommend? Well, really, when you're talking about a restaurant or a hotel, that's a performing environment where you can pretty much do anything. So the nice thing about having a residency and having a regular gig is the ability to go somewhere to try out new material. When I was regularly performing restaurants, I worked in more new material in those environments than I did any other time of my career. Because you'll find that you're going to have people coming back to you every single week going, what have you got this week? What have you got this week? What have you got this week? And that's just a benefit of doing restaurants or doing hotels or residences, So what I would say is I'd say that's a good list of stuff there. You've got some tech stuff, which is great. Card in the Box is amazing. Timeless is one of Vanishing Ink's best tricks. Nest of Wallets is awesome. Think about, what is the type of magic that you want to perform? What do you get excited about? Do you get excited about coin tricks? I mean, I haven't seen any coin routines there. That'll set you, you want a bit of variety in there. You don't want to be doing the same stuff. You've got a bit of variety, get a little bit more. Put some coin routines in there, or put some card routines in there. You put Nest of Wallets, that's brilliant. What are you using Nest of Wallets for? Are you using it for a borrowed ring, disappearing and going into a Nest of Wallets? In which case, brilliant, learn a ring and string routine. Or learn another routine with a ring, so you can create an almost little act that finishes with that nest in wallets. Are you having a signed coin go into that nest in wallets? In which case, learn some coin manipulation, do a flurry or a coin penetration through the table or something else, and then finish with it going into the nest of wallets. Take the props that you've already got and see what other routines that are out there that you can use in combination with those routines that you already do to flesh them out into more of an act. And I did a video on this channel a little while ago called Creating Set Lists. And that's something you want to go and look at, because I talk about creating set lists and how to actually structure your magic in a gigging environment. So go and look at that. But hopefully that helps. And, good luck and congratulations getting the residency. Okay, so the next question is Zong Huan Quang. How you doing, buddy? I hope you're okay. Hi, Craig. Thanks for the amazing content you've put out. It really helps me a lot. You're more than welcome. I have a question for you. I'm recently putting together a magic routine. I saw a trick from you, which is really perfect for the theme of my act. So I want to ask you if I can perform the trick for the competition, and should I contact the creator of the trick, which I perform in my routine? It very much depends. I mean, in terms of should I contact the creator of the trick, if you've just seen a YouTube video online of somebody performing a trick, and you figure it out by watching the YouTube video, you want to find out if that's a marketed effect or not, because it might be something that's really kind of exclusive to them, something that they do and nobody else does, in which case it's courtesy to go and check with them. You don't want to be going and ripping off somebody's act. Especially when it's an act that may be unique to them. Now, it might just be that they're performing a marketed effect and they'll say to you, yeah, it's this thing from this place, go check it out. In terms of the content I put out there, this is a channel for magicians. Anything that goes on Magic TV, if you like it, by all means use it. I mean, if you can learn it off the video, more power to you. It'll probably be on Netrix. A lot of the videos I do, I cite the source of where the trick's from and where you can learn it from and so on and so forth. A lot of the time, it's worth buying the trick from the source, because a lot of the time there's more content on there than what you're seeing in the performance. They'll go through things with a fine-tooth comb. But in terms of any of my videos, especially if it's one of my routines, go for it. Okay, so the next question is from Daniel Carter, and Daniel says, hey Craig, recently visited a magic shop and I had the guy at the counter show me a bunch of tricks. Once he was done, even though I did not want to buy any of them, I bought one, Brainwave in particular, because I felt obligated because the guy spent half an hour showing me tricks. What's the right thing to do in this situation? Thank you. Well, it's totally up to you. I mean, at the end of the day, you're the customer. If you don't want to buy anything, if you've got, I mean, you went into a magic shop, right, because maybe you're interested in buying something. If you didn't see anything that floated your boat, well, don't feel obligated to buy it because you were there. It's the shop's job to impulse you to a point that you want to buy something. The obligation is in their hands. Now, having said that, there are less and less brick and mortar shops around than ever before, and it's nice to support those brick and mortar shops because they are slowly going out of business. Prop Dog is the latest casualty, but there's going to be more. So if you want that brick and mortar shop to be there, it is nice to support them. But having said that, if there's something, you wouldn't walk into any other shop and have the salesperson show you, you wouldn't go to a car lot, for example, and have the car guy turn around and show you like 10 or 15 cars, and then you wouldn't feel obligated to go and buy one of those cards, right? So you shouldn't feel obligated to buy a magic trick. But ask yourself a question: why did you go in there in the first place? If you went in there to buy a magic trick, but you know, why did you not buy it? If it's because there was nothing really that floated your boat or nothing that really excited you, then fair play, just walk away. Okay, so the next trick is by Adrian Suter, and Adrian says, as a hobbyist, I often perform for friends and family. Sometimes I show a trick and not everybody sees it, so they ask me to repeat it. What's the best answer for this in a social setting, mainly card and EDC tricks? Well, you know what? There's a couple of different ways of approaching this. You're talking about repeating a trick for other people, but potentially in front of the group that have originally seen it, right? So the question is, well, first of all, does the trick bear repeat? Is it something that you could repeat? Is it something that, like, the method is fooling enough to be able to do it again and again without being busted, and it's a different outcome every single time? In which case you could just turn around and say, well, Norm, you know, there's a rule in magic, never repeat a trick. However, you know, I'll make an exception just for you guys. Have a look at this. Now, if you don't want to do it because maybe you feel the method is a bit too similar, or it potentially could be the same out, then could you do what? Because here's the thing, the audience don't know the method, right? So you can do essentially the same trick, but with a completely different method. And that's something that works really well. So for example, let's say you perform my trick Gossip, which in essence is me predicting a celebrity that somebody thinks of. And I use a baby gag to do that, but it is in essence a celebrity prediction. Well, you could do the same thing with Digital Force Bag. So if somebody said, hey, you know, can you do that trick that you did with the celebrities earlier on? You could go, well, you know, I don't normally repeat a trick, but I'll do it, and I'll do it 20 times different. I'll make it harder for myself. And then you go into, and you don't have to make it, you know, you're not really making it harder for yourself. You're just using a different method. But now that's an interesting hook to get them on board. And now you do exactly the same thing, but with Digital Force Bag. So now they're seeing the same trick, but they're seeing it in a different way from a methodology point of view and also a presentation point of view. The other way that you can do it is do a different trick, but has a similar theme. So for example, I'll give you an example here. Let's say that you did that Michael Chatelain coin and bottle, where you take the coin and you drop it into the bottle, and somebody says, oh, can you do the trick where the coin went in the bottle again? You go, well, look, I tell you what, I could do, but instead let's make it harder for myself. I'll take the coin and I'll put it into that beer bottle over there, and then you do the classic coin and bottle. It feels like the same trick. It's different. You've told them it's different, but you're still kind of on the same sort of thing. If you put the coin in the bottle and you had one lying around, you could do a cube in bottle, for example. You can say, well, yeah, I could do, but I'm not going to repeat the same trick. But instead of putting a coin in a bottle, let's see if I can put a cube in a bottle. It's the same with card tricks. Let's say that you're doing ambitious card, and somebody says, well, do it again. Well, now you can do card in the box instead, and you can act like the card's gone to the box, and oh, hang on, it's gone underneath it. You can act like the card's gone to the top of the deck, and then you can go, oh, sorry, it's gone underneath the box. And you can transition into a different routine, but they feel like it starts the same way, right? So there's a lot of different options. What I wouldn't do is turn around and say, no, it's against the rules, sorry. I'd give them another option. Even if you can't think of anything else to do, you go, well, look, a good magician never repeats a trick, but let me show you something that's even better, and then go into something completely different. Okay, so the next question is from Jason Staples, and Jason says, so Ryland looked into Vortex by Jeff McBride. He's currently studying all the Jeff McBride material, all of the card manipulation, Vortex, a whole bunch of stuff, but he's currently looking at the Bond Lee multiplying balls stuff. He's really into manipulation, like super into manipulation and any type of manipulation routine. So yeah, he just spends a long time learning manipulation. So yes, he is looking at that, but he's focusing on multiplying balls and card manipulations at the moment. Okay, another question from Adrian Suter, and Adrian says, you've been talking a lot about the importance of character recently over the last few months, which I found really inspiring. What would be, in your opinion, a really bad character? Well, I don't suppose there's really such thing as a really bad character, because at the end of the day, it's the character that person chooses to portray on stage, and there's a market for it. So, for example, I saw a post recently by D. Christopher that said that he's got a new show that's going to be going out soon, where he plays a vampire, I think it was, a vampire-style character. Now, if you're a Christian, for example, the idea of a vampire character, or, Ouija boards and stuff like that, would probably fill you with horror. So you could say, from a Christian's point of view, it's a bad character. But there's going to be a huge market out there that are desperately going to want to book something like that. There's millions of people that would want to book a routine like that. Horror conventions, you know, for example, Comic-Cons, millions of different places. So I don't think there's any such thing as a bad character. It's just about what you want to achieve and what you want your audiences to experience. And how you want them to feel when they're watching you. And I think that the character is a way of actually making that happen. Using D as an example, he's really into horror. He's really, you know, he is gothic looking. You know, him and his girlfriend look like, you know, like the Addams family. So because of that, it makes sense for him to portray that character. Is it everyone's cup of tea? Absolutely not. But would it work for D. Christopher? 100% yeah. So I don't think there's such thing as a bad character, but I just think that whenever you're creating a character, you need to be true to yourself. So there you go, guys. That's another Q&A in the bag. Do me a favour. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. You want to see more videos like this, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. Thank you for all of your questions. The Q&As live and die by the questions that you ask. So thank you for continuing to ask awesome questions. And if you haven't already done so, please go ahead and try the Netrix out. www.thenetrix.com. You can get access immediately and see what all the fuss is about. I will see you again soon. Thank you so much for watching. My name's Craig from Magic TV.